Okay, now, you did your questions. Now, what questions could you ask about lifetime of memories? You could say something. Now, these are examples. You could have something completely different, and that's okay. These are questions that you want to have before you read. Now, before I go into the questions and possible examples, why do you want to ask questions before you read, not after? Before you read, think about it like this. When you do a reading test or a reading practice, you see the article. Then underneath it, you see 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 questions. Those questions are going to be pieces of information that you're going to find answers for. So a really quick, fast way to get into your reading and understand what's going on, read the question first, then go looking for the answer. So if you have a list of questions that you have on a piece of paper before you read each section, make sure it's section by section. Then when you have time to sit down and do the reading, you're going to say, oh, these are some questions that I want to find answers for. Then when I read, I can say, oh, I had a question about this. I found the answer. It's a discovery technique. Okay. It's like finding something really cool. So when you're not going to have answers to all of your questions, you may find more information. That's okay. All you need is about 3, 4, 5 questions for each section. If it's a very short section, you may have fewer questions. If you have a longer section, you're going to have more questions. Okay. Lifetime of memories. What questions could you ask? You're talking about a person's memory. You could say things like, who are some people that she met that she remembers? Were there any famous people that she met? Okay. What kind of events from history does she remember? Things like that. If you came up with something different, that's okay. What about making records? What record did she make? Here, it's not talking about a music record, maybe. A record is something that she was the best at or she was the most at. So you could say, what record did she make? Who was the person who had the record before her? What was the record? Why did she win this particular award? Something like that. Okay. In the last major supporting detail section, what was her secret to longevity? What was her secret? Why did she live so long? What pieces of advice does she have for other people if they want to live a long life? These are types of questions. Okay. So now we've gone through survey and preview, and we've gone through questions. Now, when you look at your chapter 1 in the effective reader, go to page 11 for a second. In the green circle you see in the top, it says prior knowledge. Prior knowledge is your information that you have now in your head because of your life experiences. Everybody has different life experiences. I have different life experiences from you because I live in different places. I have different life experiences. I know different people. I've lived a different amount of time from you. I have a different type of family. I have different family members, things like that. Okay? Now, prior knowledge, life experience, think about it. You know about the topic, old person, meet the person, it's a French woman. Now you can think, what do you know about French people? What do you know about old people? Now these are your prior knowledge. You don't have to know French people. Maybe you're French. Maybe you have a lot of experience with French people. Maybe you're not French. You don't have anything to do with European people. That's okay. Think about old people. What do you know about your relationship with your grandparents? What do you know about your relationship with elderly people who live near you or work with you or who live in your neighborhood? Something like that. All of that knowledge, the pre-reading, the surveying, the previewing, the questioning, the prior knowledge, put it all together and think about it for a few minutes before you sit down to read. Okay, so we've got the S and we've got the Q. Now let's get to the 3 R's. The first R is read. When you read, notice I didn't say in the reading process the first step is reading. The first step is survey, then you question. The third step is reading. When you read, put your pen on the table. Don't touch it. Put your highlighters down. Just read. If you want, sit on your hands so you don't use anything in your hands. Okay? Just read. Have the questions next to you that you already wrote down. And as you read each section, look at the questions first. Then read the section. Did you find some of the answers? Hopefully, yes. Did you find some pieces of information that are interesting? Hopefully, yes. Okay. Then you go to the second section, look at the second set of questions that you wrote down, and look and read the section. Did you find some of the answers? And does that really help you with the understanding process? How did your prior knowledge help you understand this? It's all going to work together and make reading easier. Go to the third section about making records. Look at your questions. Then read the section. Did you find any of the answers? What were some of the answers? Then, last one. What was her secret to longevity? Look at your questions first, then read the section. What answers did you find to your questions? You'll find some of them, you'll find other ones. You're not going to find all of them. It depends on the questions that you wrote. Okay? That's SQ3R. Okay, that's SQ and the first R. The second R is review. Now pick up a different highlighter. We did our survey highlighter in orange. Let's pick up blue or green. Okay, a very different color. Now with your highlighter, go back to the first section. Look at the questions that you wrote. Now in the section, use the blue highlighter to write the answers to the questions. Okay. Now, if you said something like, what was her name in your question, you find out Jean-Louise Calment, highlight it in blue. Now, when you highlight, you only highlight words. Don't highlight the entire sentence. And here's a little trick to make highlighting easy for you at the beginning. Highlight names of people, names of places, numbers, and dates. Okay? Especially because we're talking about elderly people. There's going to be names of people, places, numbers, and dates. Those are going to be important right now. Okay? When you get done highlighting, you're going to see, for example, in the first sentence or in the first paragraph, Jean-Louise Calment was born in Halle, France on February 21st, 1875 and lived there until her death on August 4th, 1997. That's a very long sentence. There's a lot of words in there. You only need to highlight in blue Jean-Louise Calment, Halle, France, February 21st, 1875, death, August 4th, 1997. That's it. Notice you have some blue and some no blue, and it's supposed to look like that. Then in the next, you highlight 122 years, 164 days. You highlight married, second cousin, Ferdinand Calment, 1896. You highlight survived, only child, only grandchild. Okay? Now, this is what I want you to do. And that's called reviewing. Reviewing is matching the story and the questions that you had, so you're bringing together the entire reading process. Okay? And you're working with the information. You're working with the questions. You're working with the answers. You're working with the color. And you'll notice the color and the answers and writing, it does take a little bit of time. Doing a process like this takes a little bit of time. It takes the entire process of everything may take 20 minutes, may take 25 minutes, it depends. But I'll tell you something. You read it once or twice and you remember it, you understand it. You don't have to read it 4 or 5 times. You don't have to memorize and not understand. Okay, now what I want you to do at this point, stop the video in a minute, okay? I want you to highlight in your blue a lifetime of memories. Remember, you're highlighting names of people, names of places, numbers, and dates, okay? Then do the same thing for records and do the same thing for secret of longevity. When you get done with that, go on to part 3 of the lecture and I'll finish discussing this particular topic.